Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just made another stunning revelation on a podcast. Well, I guess it's old news to us, but it'll be new news to Fox News viewers and anybody who watches the brand name Conservative Inc. supposed alternative media figures like Ben Shapiro and all the rest, because he sat down with Lex Fridman recently, just a few days ago, who was some computer nerd and artificial intelligence guru who will ultimately be a servant of Satan and wants people to plug into the Matrix through a neural interface. But that's a whole other issue. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. mentioned one of my favorite topics.
For most of its life, the CIA was banned from propagandizing Americans. But we learned that they were doing it anyway. So in 1973, during the Church Committee hearings, we learned that the CIA had a program called Operation Mockingbird, where they had at least 400 members, leading members of the United States Press Corps, from the New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC, CBS, NBC, etc., who were secretly working for the agency and steering news coverage to support CIA priorities.
By the way, if you don't know, the reason his voice sounds shaky isn't that he's sick or an elderly man. He has some disease with his vocal cords that cause them to spasm every time that he speaks.
And they agreed at that time to disband Operation Mockingbird in 73. But there's indications they didn't do that. And the CIA today is the biggest funder of journalism around the world. The biggest funder is through USAID.
Now, he's being way overly diplomatic there, trying not to sound like a conspiracy theorist by saying there are indications that they didn't end it. Well, of course they didn't.
You say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
And for 19 years now, since 2004, when I first learned about Operation Mockingbird, before YouTube, before Facebook, when I was an internet radio host on GCN, the Genesis Communications Network, the same network that I think still syndicates Alex Jones's show. Very few of my current subscribers know this because obviously it was a long time ago. My audience back then was very small. But you know that I've been shouting about Operation Mockingbird pretty much nonstop. And all you need to do, anybody needs to do, is look at the Church Committee report, which was published in 1976, where it says on page 455 that the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred individuals around the world who provide intelligence for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets.
The United States funds journalism in almost every country in the world. You know, it owns newspapers. It has journalists on it, thousands and thousands of journalists on its payroll. They're not supposed to be doing that in the United States, but in 2016, President Obama changed the law to make it legal now for the CIA to propagandize Americans. And I think,
Yes, that was through the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012. Obama needed to modernize it so that it would be fully legal for the CIA to spread fake news in American media.
I mean, there's certain press organs that have been linked, to the agency, that the people who run those organs, things like the Daily Beast, now Rolling Stone, editor of Rolling Stone, Noah Schlachman, has deep relationships with the intelligence community, Salon, Daily Kos.
And again, of course, this is all old news to us, but it's great that he's bringing up these issues with a normie audience, as the kids say, and maybe this will make it safe for the brand name talk show hosts and pundits to finally talk about Operation Mockingbird, because they're almost as afraid to bring that up as they are to disagree with gay marriage. And then listen to the reaction from this nerd, Lex Fridman, who has had the biggest names in tech on his podcast. He just can't understand why the CIA would want to do that.
But I wonder why they would do it. So from my perspective, it just seems like the job of a journalist is to have an integrity where your opinion cannot be influenced or bought.
Imagine being that naive. Well, why would the journalists do that? I thought journalism was a respectable profession. I'm sorry, Lex, but not only is it blatantly obvious that virtually all mainstream journalists are corrupt to the core and make the same amount of money as professional athletes, but it's old news. 45 years ago, in 1977, Rolling Stone magazine published an expose after the church hearing about Operation Mockingbird and named names and detailed how even the church hearing covered up the extent of the program. Sadly, Rolling Stone and Carl Bernstein, who wrote this article, couldn't beat them, and so they joined them.
I actually think that the entire field of journalism has really shamed itself in recent years because it's become, the principal newspapers in this country and the television station, the legacy media have abandoned their tradition of which was.
They have abandoned all sense of integrity and morality. And again, some of us have been trying to warn the American people about this for many years now. Here's me 13 years ago, back in 2010, on a little-known radio show, trying to tell people what's going on.
It's interesting. We kind of talk about Operation Mockingbird and things like that, and people are saying it's kind of well known that the government controls the media and this and that. But I mean, if anybody wants any real hardcore evidence of this, just look into the church hearings back in the late 1970s and look at the published report about Operation Mockingbird back in the 70s. I mean, it's just fully a congressional hearing investigating the CIA, and they uncovered and admitted that the CIA was paying at that time like $200 and some million a year. According to adjusted for today's inflation, it's $1 billion a year. They were paying off the reporters and the editors, really, to gatekeep, to kill stories, and to plant propaganda. So, I mean, there's your evidence right there.
Yes, but sadly, literally the only time it's ever been mentioned on Fox News was 2 years ago on Tucker Carlson's show when Glenn Greenwald said this.
If you go and Google, and I hope your viewers do, Operation Mockingbird, what you will find is that during the Cold War, these agencies used to plot about how to clandestinely manipulate the news media to disseminate propaganda to the American population. They used to try and do it secretly. They don't even do it secretly anymore. They don't need Operation Mockingbird. They literally put John Brennan, who works for NBC, and James Clapper, who works for CNN, and tons of FBI agents right on the payroll of these news organizations. They now shape the news openly to manipulate and deceive the American population.
Yes, they do. But sadly, the trusted brand name conservatives are still too afraid to tell their audiences about it. I'll leave a link in the description below to my previous in-depth report. It's rather lengthy about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. raising the alarm about atrazine, the herbicide that's found in drinking water across the country that has been found to convert testosterone into estrogen, which he and many others believe may be responsible for the gender dysphoria epidemic in society. And just as I predicted, once he mentioned that on Jordan Peterson's podcast, which has since been censored from YouTube because he was talking about vaccines, then the all-knowing fact-checkers claim, well, is atrazine in the water supply contributing to sexual dysphoria in kids? Well, they say, of course not. Yes, and I'm sure that BPA, bisphenol A, and phthalates, which are synthetic estrogens found in plastics, which are often used in food packaging and toys and even clothes, have nothing to do with it either, right? Oh, wait, what's this? It's a 2005 article from New Scientist magazine. Gender-bending chemicals found to feminize boys. Gender-bending chemicals mimicking the female hormone estrogen can disrupt the development of baby boys, suggests the first evidence linking certain chemicals in everyday plastics to effects in humans. The chemicals implicated are phthalates, which make plastics more pliable in many cosmetics, toys, baby feeding bottles, and paints, and can leak into water and food. Then 3 years later, other studies confirm these same concerns. Chemicals commonly found in food wrapping, makeup, and baby powders are having a gender-bending effect, feminizing male populations of wildlife and humans. This from 2009, 2-year-olds at risk from gender-bending chemicals. But you're not supposed to say that there's anything wrong with people who have gender dysphoria. It's an orientation. It's no different than someone being left-handed instead of right-handed. In fact, they're amazing. They're on the frontier of the next phase of evolution of humanity. I'll leave a link in the description below to RFK Jr.'s full interview with Lex Fridman. Leave a comment over there letting people know that I sent you and thumb up my comment. I haven't watched the whole interview, but he does bring up a couple other interesting points, including In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's investment firm, basically, where they invest money into tech companies and then have everybody sign non-disclosure agreements so that they will develop tech for the intelligence agencies. In previous interviews, he has discussed how the CIA obviously silenced and got rid of his father and his uncle. But before you get too excited and put him on a pedestal and think that he should be Donald Trump's running mate for some sort of unity ticket, you should know that he still is a Democrat at his core. He supports affirmative action. He supports gun control. Not that long ago, he said that he thinks that anybody who denies man-made climate change should be arrested. So it's great that he's getting out some important issues. He's making it safe for people to talk about certain things, but he still is a Democrat at his core. Oh, and by the way, you can save 20% off of your Operation Mockingbird shirt from my online store at markdice.com this weekend by using the promo code SummerVibes20 at the checkout. Yes, it's a lame promo code. I didn't come up with it. It's sponsored by my distributor, Teespring, but use it this weekend to save 20% off of anything. So get your Wanted for President shirt, your Conspiracy Theorist for Right shirt, or any of my awesome designs. All available, a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.